Ashley Mazuri, KTN News.
All right, so it's now that time of the night when we get to learn some proper English pronunciations. Let me bring in again Willis, the word master. Willis, thank you so much for joining us here on Friday Briefing. Great to see you. So Willis, can you hear me, Willis?
It's always my pleasure, Betty. I can hear you very well, and it's my pleasure to be here and ready to do the needful.
All right, thank you very much, Willis. So I want us to get straight into it, and we'll start with Word on the Street tonight. Let's see what Kenyans had to say on the streets.
Anxious, anxious, anxious.
Obnoxious, obnoxious, obnoxious.
Obnoxious, 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 obnoxious.
Onosius. Onosius. Onosius.
Obnoxious. Obnoxious. Obnoxious.
Obnoxious. Obnoxious. Obnoxious. Obnoxious. Obnoxious. Obnoxious.
Thank you very much.
Obnoxious. Obnoxious. Obnoxious.
All right, Willis, I swear I knew how to pronounce that word before I heard what they had to say. Now I'm even confused. I don't even know how it's pronounced. How do we go about it?
As I always say, Betty, it happens because, the word can be tricky or rare. And also, human beings, being what we are, there are certain words that would be tricky for us, even in our own, mother tongue, or when I would talk about Kiswahili or any other language for that matter. But this word, we should appreciate the fact that there are those who are very close to getting it right.
Yeah.
Now, we say obnoxious, obnoxious. What we should avoid is obnoxious. That would be very common down this way. Obnoxious, no. Obnoxious, no. You say obnoxious, obnoxious.
All right, let me ask Willis. So it's not obnoxious because is that I-O-U-S?
Shears. That I is not pronounced. You say shas, shas with what we call a sure, a weak sound, a weak vowel sound.
Okay,
obnoxious.
Got it, Willis. Got it. Let's move on to the next word, and we hear a lot of this. Pleasantries, is that the correct pronunciation of this word, or is it pleasantries? Coming from the word please.
No, you don't say pleasantries. You say pleasantries. Okay. We also say peasant, not peasant. A peasant farmer, not a peasant farmer. So pleasantries, just the way you pronounced it, Betty.
All right. Moving on, Willis, at least I'm not, it's not like last week. Last week I was dropping the ball. At least today I'm stable with these pronunciations. All right, Willis, let's move on to this other word, and I'll spell this one out. R-E-N-D-Z-V-O-U-S. How do we go about that?
Oh, you say rendezvous, rendezvous, or rendezvous. Remember, you can also say rendezvous, 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 rendezvous. What we should avoid is rendezvous, rendezvous.
Not
you
rendezvous.
Say rendezvous, rendezvous, rendezvous.
All right, Willis, got it. So it's not rendezvous, as some of us say it. No. It's rendezvous. Moving on, Willis, to another one here. So I'll spell it out. C-O-M-A-T-O-S-E. Comatose.
Oh, that is being, deeply unconscious.
Yeah.
You say comatose, comatose.
What?
Comatose.
Okay,
Coma. Yeah, comatose.
Comatose. All right, Willis. Moving to this other one.
Yes.
AUTOPSY. Autopsy, autopsy.
Oh, you say autopsy.
Oh,
Autopsy,
okay.
not autopsy. To say autopsy is like saying August. So you say autopsy, August, audio, not audio. So that A and U
Audio.
combine to form one sound. That is the long sound O.
Yeah.
Autopsy,
Autopsy.
August, audio,
August.
not audio.
Not audio. I've never heard of that one, but I'm sure there are people somewhere
Yes.
who say audio.
You
Moving
may
on.
hear of that.
Yeah.
Yes, you may hear some people saying audio. It happens, Betty.
I'm sure it does, Willis. Moving on to this other word, do we say villain, which is which, Willis?
You say villain, len, with a weak sound a, len, villain, not villain. You see, when we see that L-A-I-N, we find ourselves, thinking about lane,
Yeah.
lane, which is not there in that word. You don't have that sounding. You say villain, villain, just like the villain of the piece, the villain of the piece, not the villain. Lane, no.
Okay, Willis. Even I was wrong on that. I thought it's villain, and that's why I was saying it so confidently, only to realize I'm wrong. Thank you for that. All right, Willis. This this other one, ARCH.
Betty, you are saying it confidently.
I was saying it so confidently. Kumbe, I'm wrong, so I should chill, I think.
Anyway, it happens, as I always say.
Yeah, it does. So moving on to this other one, Willis. ARCHH, yeah, IVIST. Archivist.
Oh, you say archivist.
Oh,
Archi.
okay.
That CH, that digraph C and H combine to form the sound K, just like in chorus, chemical, chemistry, choir. So you say archivist from the word archive, an archive. But the
Yeah.
person who works there is an archivist.
So, Willis, how do you differentiate from saying arch and arc? Because you have arch rival, or is it archipelago? How do you then differentiate what to say, when to say arc or arch?
Betty, this is where studying languages can be very useful and helpful to somebody who is in a career of serious communication, like broadcasting,
Yeah.
teaching, marketing, the legal practice, and all those other careers where the way you speak, the way you pronounce words, the way you use grammar, the choice of words matter a lot. But now your question is how to know. When you study a target or a second language, you'll study what we call its phonology, the sound system of that language. Now, English, the biggest problem with English is it has very irregular, aspects of spelling and pronunciation, because you realize you say the way you put it, arch-rival,
Right.
archdiocese, archbishop, but you don't say archbishop. But here we say archivist. Now, what you have to understand is we have what we call the prefix, and we have also what we call the combining forms, which are alternately used for prefix occasionally or sometimes. But in this case, when you want to study the pronunciation of words and even letters, that is where you should have some knowledge. You try to study what we call now the phonetic symbols. Those symbols that you may see in good dictionaries or dictionaries. You will really know when to say ch and when to say k. Because if I were to take you through a small lesson, I would show you those phonetic symbols, which is why I say we should try to learn how to use dictionaries, not only for the meaning of a word, but also how to pronounce words in English or any other language. Very tricky, but with time, you can learn and have that mastery, which is very inevitable.
Well, Willis, you know, I thought up until today, I thought that mathematics and physics were the hardest. But from that explanation, English probably is also in that list of some of the toughest subjects that we learn in school. But thank you for that, Willis. Okay, so.
Some sacrifice and dedication, very important when you are learning anything in this world as a subject.
Interesting. Willis, so this, for the last couple of days, we've been talking about Theresa May. Theresa, you hear Theresa May. I don't know if you could just talk to us about the correct pronunciation of that name. Which is which? I've had trouble with it, and I've had very interesting variations of pronunciations.
Another one, Betty.
Yeah. Teresa, Teresa.
Now, Betty, we should be clear about this, and it's good you brought it, which is sometimes why I say you always deserve a pat on the back. Now, this name, when you are talking Spanish, you'll talk of Teresa, Teresa, in Spanish pronunciation. But in English, you have 3 acceptable pronunciations. One, you would say Teresa, Teresa. In fact, 2, Teresa,
Wow.
you would say also Teresa, Teresa and Teresa, Teresa. That is in English. But when somebody says Teresa, don't stop saying so, because, you know, when it's, in Spanish or, used as a Spanish name, it's just the way it is spelled, but with that stress on re, Teresa. But in English, we say Theresa or Theresa May, like now the Prime Minister in Britain, if you may, like it that way.
Interesting, Willis. Teresa. It's just the same way you told me that my name is Beatrice and not Beatrice. Interesting. So, Willis.
Locally, when you say Beatrice, people would wonder, like, now, what is this? You know, Betty, the problem that we have, you may have heard some of the white. I'm using white just to mean, I'm talking about the West America and, the foreign countries. Now, when you hear those people in those countries also pronouncing a name like Keter, Keter, which we know locally to be Keter, you may hear of Keta. Kenya, you may hear of Kenya or Kenya. Just the way we find some of the foreign names difficult to pronounce accurately, that is the way they also have a problem. So what is the solution in this case? Studying the phonology of a target or a foreign language, whether it is words or names for that matter. Otherwise, we may even talk of Thomas instead of Thomas, Beatrice instead of Beatrice, and so many other names, Betty. But with names, you can't be very accurate with, a foreign language.
Okay, Willis, thank you for that. All right, so we need to move fast, Willis. We'll go straight to our feedback question. This one comes from Hamisi Magongo in Mombasa. She's asking about this one. Recitation. Recitation.
Oh, you say, what you should avoid is that citation, recitation, recitation. That psi is not there. By way of inflection, the pronunciation of certain English words may change or change partially. So in this case, you say recitation, but the verb is recite. Recite, recitation. Invite, invitation. Define, definition. Combine, combination, not combination as we commonly say locally. So, recitation.
Interesting, Willis. Moving on
and
to
then I would go straight to the other question.
Yes.
Okay, now, because we always try to be, fair, or we try to cover our dear viewers the way they also love the program. So we have James or Jameson Mulenga of Kitwe, Zambia. You say fraud. Roger Habimana of Kibungo, Rwanda. You say isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangle, not isosceles. Sami Mwada of Muranga, squirrel. Squirrel. Abdirizak Kontoma, I think of northern Kenya. You say add. To he add. And then boast. Boasting. Fatuma Abdi of Mandera. You say genre. Genre. Not Gina. Not Jonah, not genre or genre. Genre.
Genre.
George Nzia, you say ambiguity, ambiguity, and ambiguous. Wakili George Morara Akuma, you say subpoena. This is a word that Betty loves so much, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, yes.
You say subpoena, not subpoena. So Wakili George Morara Akuma, you say subpoena. Katebes Mwalimu Saddam Kibet, Hiu, Masaz or Masus, and then mishap. Don't say mishap. Mishap, no, mishap. Sami at journalist. Journalist. Betty, can you say journalist?
Journalist. Journalist.
Not journalist.
Not journalist.
We also say Johnny, not Johnny. Yes.
All right.
You say coupon, befuddled, and succulent. Then Liz Wanjala of Busia, contentious. Don't say contentious. Contentious.
Contentious.
Haman Ngugi Kahoi, herald. Dennis Mbaka of JKUAT, you say university, not varsity. Ziti, no. University. Kiliad Musafiri, Charles Mwabili, and Nzimbi Makau, you say flower. Mary Mwanga, expeditious.
All right.
Expeditious or expeditiously. Then second last, Zach Mainga of Marsabit, Sololo, you say celery. That vegetable is celery. Celery. Then George Masese and Beatrice or Beatrice, that is locally, you say onomatopoeia and acquisition. Francis Lopao, quarantine. Quarantine and benign.
All
then we
right.
go straight now to the surprise word for tonight.
Uh-huh.
Dose.
Dose.
Dose, no. Dose.
Oh,
Many people will say dose. No. You avoid that. It's a dose. Dose.
Dose.
With the voiceless sound like an S. Dose. A dose. That is like an amount of medicine that you take. You say a dose.
A dose.
A dose of something, not a dose. Your Z like a Z, no.
No.
Then we should also remember, Betty, that when we have D-O-Z-E, that is to sleep, slightly, you say to doze, to doze. But D-O-S-S is dose, to dose on the floor. Dose, D-O-S-S. And the plural of door, Betty, if you may try, door, the door. Plural is?
Doors. Doors.
Doors. That is why I always say, Betty, you deserve a pat on the back. Just like
I'm
now
not
the
even
upper
sure
one,
myself
doors, then doors, then we have doors, and then doors. The
All
first one, doors, 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 and doors.
Doors.
So, distinguishing such pronunciations can help you deliver the intended message very clearly and effectively in careers of serious communication. Finally, Betty, we have the two words. The upper one is put, P-U-T, put. You say put. Can you put that pen down? Put. But when we have double P, don't say to put the ball or the golf ball. When you hit that golf ball gently, you say putt. Putt. That is P-U-T-T, the lower one, putt.
Putt.
To putt the
right.
ball. Otherwise,
Willis.
it's a long one, but it does it for tonight, Betty. They can also contact me or reach me on Twitter at Willis Ochieng 1. But remember, on KTN News, on KTN Home, every Friday with none other than Betty Kialo. Or should I say Chalo?
Whichever Willis, it's still the same person.
Whichever way.
Whichever way. Thank you so much, Willis.
The cameraman, Nicholas Mburu, is laughing at me a bit when I say Chalo and Kialo. But you see, sometimes it depends on how or where people say whether Chalo or Kialo.
For sure.
I can't be the doctor for that.
Thank you very much, Willis, the word master there, delivering a great lesson tonight. Remember, you can catch him on his Twitter handle at Willis Ochieng 1. All right.